Oh, we are one love. Hear the call. Together we rise. Let compassion enthrone. In the morning light, the sun breaks free. A new day dawns. It's a sight to see. With hearts wide open, we stand as one, living in our truth, like the stars and the sun. From the mountains high to the valley low, we're spreading our wings, letting our spirits flow. In every soul, there's a spark divine, raising up the world. We're truly alive. Oh, we are one love. United we stand, bringing peace to the world. Hand in hand, waking up to nature, releasing all fears, sharing hope and compassion through the laughter and tears.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here as we continue our series, Living in Frequency. We started out with love, and we talked about how love is not just a hug. Now, some of us think of love as nice. We think of someone being loving as someone who's being nice. A lot of times when you stand up for what you believe is right and accurate in the world, there are people who will attack you, who will ask you, why aren't you being loving? Some people don't think that directness can be loving, but it actually can. Where it crosses a line is when you start to dehumanize and demonize, and you start to condemn and damn other people. That's when you can move outside of love. But we said that love is not just a hug, that love doesn't just hug you and embrace you or hold you in a sweet, nice way, that love, in fact, will dismantle the false you, the false self. And that love can be very much a force, and it is a force in the world to correct behaviors and to give us accurate access to accuracy in the world, to travel through the world with a much more broad, bigger-hearted understanding of the planet and the plane that we're on, and that love is that gateway into higher consciousness. And then we moved on to joy, and we said that joy is also not an emotion, that joy is a frequency, and that joy is not necessarily happiness. In fact, they're two different things. Happiness is dependent on what happens, but joy just is. It's a frequency. And we said also that joy in many ways is a sacred rebellion, especially in times like what we're experiencing currently on the planet, where there's a tremendous level of division, and there's a tremendous level of hatred and demonization and dehumanization of whole groups of people, and some of the sadness or the grief that we may experience as a result of watching the world around us die and decay. It's been in decadence. It's been in dissolution, but dissolution often is the very thing that will fuel evolution. You know, we talked about this last Wednesday, how that your past is compost, and compost is necessary for the growth of anything. It's essentially the fertilizer, and sometimes you feel like life is throwing the shift at you, and it can certainly feel that way, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is that. Maybe that fertilizer, though, that shift, I'm using the term to try to be nicer, that shift that it's thrown at you can be used as fertilizer to help you to continue to grow. Today, we're looking at the frequency of peace. We're talking about the energetics of awakening, love, joy, and peace. All of this, of course, inspired by Dr. David Hawkins and his mapping of consciousness. And today, we're looking at peace as the frequency of wholeness. Now, at the end of this message, we're going to prepare a few moments to be a little more ceremonial, because one of the things that I want to do with these three frequencies is invite us into a commitment to practice them. This is not about perfection. This is not about whether or not you are loving enough, joyful enough, or peaceful enough. The discipline around this is a practice. And the only way for us to make it practical is to make it a part of our daily life and to commit to being love, being joy, being peace, rising into those frequencies. It's a practice of these frequencies. And we're looking today as peace as the frequency of wholeness. So here's the big idea today that I'd like to settle into our hearts for the next few moments. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of presence. Let me say that again because I want to make sure that that settles into our soul for a minute. Sit with that thought. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of presence. Being able to be with what is, as it is, without being completely shook to pieces. On Dr. David Hawkins' scale, peace calibrates at 600. It's a level beyond emotion. It's a level beyond thought. It is where personal dissolves into the universal. Please hear that again. This level of peace and this level of calibration on the map of consciousness, according to Dr. David Hawkins, is where personal dissolves and universal is what's left. So I'm dissolving all of the personal needs to be attached. I'm not attached to personality. I am becoming universal. It is a deep spiritual coherence. It's being cohorts with the source, the eternal. But peace also is not passive. Now, a lot of us think that peace is passive. We're sort of taught that peace is passive, but it's not passive. It's not detachment. It's not denial. It's not spiritual bypassing. Now, there are some who want you to bypass, and they'll use terms like peace and unity to do that. Because they disagree with you about a particular point of view, they want you to agree with them. And they believe that agreement with them is unity. Unity is far beyond agreement with our perceived realities. As I've said many, many times before, I may speak of something with a deep, deep conviction and believe it to be truth. But I have always said to you, and I always will say to you, that I don't believe that I know it all, and I don't believe that my truth is even ultimate truth. That truth is a journey, not a destination. Nobody arrives at a monopoly on the truth. But when we're talking about peace, we're not talking about passivity. We're not talking about detachment. We're not talking about denial or spiritual bypassing. It is the frequency of inner wholeness. This is what Carl Jung all of his work really was around individuation, becoming fully and completely whole. It's a stillness that is so radiant, it calms the storm without needing to stop the rain. Peace is a brave embrace. Peace is a holy space. All of this that came flooding into me earlier this week ended up becoming a song that at some point I'm going to get somebody to sing it. I may sing it myself. And it uses those words in it. That it calms the storm without needing to stop the rain. I can have sun and rain and remain in a space of calm and peace. Peace is a brave embrace. It's a holy space. And here are the core teaching points for today. Number one, peace is what remains when the performance ends. Peace isn't something we manufacture. It's not something that we make up. It's what you find when you stop pretending, when you stop pushing, when you stop trying to fix, when you allow yourself to be in pure presence. As it says in Psalms 46:10 in the Hebrew Bible, be still and know that I am God. Peace is what happens when I stop performing, I stop pretending, I stop pushing, I stop fixing, and I land in the truth of presence. Be still in the stillness and know that I am God. Everyone that I'm talking to through this camera, over this platform, every one of you have the divine nature within you. And that does not That is not determined by your political affiliation, your religious affiliation, your race, your color, your creed, your sex, your orientation, how you identify. None of that matters near as much as the truth that you are a part of very presence. You are the divine in human form. And the stillness for our life, the peace for our life, is what happens when we rest into that. Peace in this moment without judgment, according to Dorothy Hunt. So when I stop trying to force reality to match my story about reality, I become free and I start to rest in peace. When I stop trying to force reality to match my story about reality, I am free to rest with it in peace. The same is true with whatever my beliefs, whatever my ideas are, my perceptions of what's happening in the world, what's happening in the United States, what I believe is a regime. The Trump administration, in my personal opinion, is a regime. And in my personal opinion, they have a fascist idealism. That does not mean, though, that I don't believe that every single one of them had the divine nature within them. And the only way, though, for me to actually have a peaceful and a calming life, or a life that's in stillness, is to stop trying to force what's happening in the world to match my story about it. Because I may be able, as a leader, to stand up in a particular way, but I also know that my freedom and my peace comes from resting back into presence, not into my perception of whatever's occurring in the world. Peace is the natural rhythm of the soul. It is not the reward for spiritual or religious or even accurate behavior. Peace is the natural rhythm of the soul. In fact, if you would type that into the comments, peace is the natural rhythm of my soul. Would you put that in the comments real quick? Peace is the natural rhythm of my soul. I'm sure that I call him Dad Jim Murphy. I'm sure that he is probably, more than the other two messages in this series, connecting with this message the most. He is the example of someone in my life who constantly points back to a sense of peace. He is someone who, in the midst of a great, great storm, experienced what it was to rest back into presence, and from that space to see the natural rhythm of the soul, which is peace. So, Dad Jim Murphy, I honor you and your work of peace in the world. Number 2, peace is a high frequency surrender. So number 1, peace is what remains when the performance ends. Number 2, peace is a high frequency surrender. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: nothing can bring you peace but yourself. In other words, you and only you can choose the frequency of surrender that brings you into the place of peace. The ego wants to achieve peace, wants to work for it, wants to make it happen. The spirit knows peace is already here, waiting for us to stop resisting. It is our resistance often that keeps us from the peace that passes all understanding. So peace is a high frequency of surrender, not a high frequency of effort. The ego says, I want to achieve peace. There's nothing to achieve. In fact, it's the letting go of needing to achieve that rests back into the understanding where the spirit knows that peace already is here right now, waiting for you to stop resisting it. Peace doesn't come from controlling the conditions. It comes from the unifying with what is as it is. I'm able to rest into what is as it is, accept it as it is, and if there's anything that needs to change, then I'll hear the call for that. But otherwise, my awareness is to know I'm not going to achieve peace. I will need to surrender into the peace that already is. I believe peace is non-resistance plus full awareness plus love. Can I say that again? I believe that peace is non-resistance plus full awareness plus love. Number 3, Peace is found in presence, not perfection. Now, this starts to really push because I know there is some of us feel driven to come to some level of perfection in our life. And the truth is that there's no peace in that. Peace is found in presence, not in perfection. People think they need to be in a quiet environment in order to find peace. In other words, with what's happening in our world right now, what's happening in this country right now, there's a whole swath of people who believe that it's wonderful, that it's great, and they support it. That's fine. You do you. I disagree completely. You do you. There's a whole nother group of people that think it's absolutely terrible. And here's what I believe. What I believe it's a perfect expression of what we need to experience right now in the human race because it is calling us to a higher level. So even if you perceive it to be bad or to be good, either way, it's calling us up to a higher level of being. It's calling us to stop repeating history and to start writing a new story. But there are a lot of people who believe you have to be in a quiet environment to find peace. But peace is not the absence of noise, it's the anchoring of awareness. It's not the absence of noise, it's the anchoring of awareness. You can be in a storm and still be still. You can have grief and still be grounded in presence and as a result experience peace. Siddhartha Gautama Buddha said, "Do not look for peace outside yourself." See, when I am believing for things to have to be perfectly quiet in order for me to be at peace, I'm looking outside of myself. I'm saying the environment needs to be perfect in my estimation of perfect, which is never really actually perfect. It's just my perception in order for me to be at peace. And the truth is that we should never look for peace outside of ourselves. St. Paul, in his letter to the church in Philippians, chapter 4 and 7, he said, "The peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart." He was talking about surrender in that verse too. You can read the whole chapter if you'd like to, but I like that. I wanted to pick on that ending where he said, "The peace that surpasses all understanding," or what I think it should be. It's almost the peace that doesn't make any sense. Like, how can you be at peace like this in a time like this? Because peace is not dependent on the environment or the circumstances. Peace is presence. It's awareness. The wholeness of God, that harmony that overrules your logic, will stand like an armed guard at the gates of your emotions and the doorway of your thoughts, keeping you steady inside the living presence of Christ consciousness. The wholeness of God, of Source, of the I Am, that harmony that overrules your mind's logic will stand like an armed guard at the gates of your emotions and the doorway of your thoughts, keeping you steady inside the living presence of Christ consciousness. So number 3, peace is found in presence, not perfection. Number 4, and this is the last point for today before we get into our commitment ceremony. Peace is the fruit of love and joy in harmony. I like to say it this way: love unifies, joy radiates, peace integrates. Can you affirm that with me? Love unifies, joy radiates, and peace integrates. I am love, I am joy, I am peace. Type that in the comments if you will. Love unifies, joy radiates, and peace integrates. To me, it's the final resolution. It's the return to the deep. It's the resting into what is actually real. What we see happening in the world is facsimile. It's not the complete and total ultimate real. What is real is the divine. And the divine is always loving. It's always joyous. It's always peaceful. Because that presence is not dependent on anything external. The presence of love, joy, and peace is not ever dependent on governmental structures going the way you think they should or people acting the way you think they should. These functioning frequencies, the reason that they land so high on this scale and they are the entryway into enlightenment and liberation is because they are absolutely not codependent. They stand on their own. And peace is the final resolution. It's the return to the deep. It's the resting into what is real. And let me be real and transparent with you, family. I don't always have this all together. And some of you may think, because I do speak with such conviction and passion about these things, that I always live them. And here's the truth. I am practicing with you. I'm not asking you to commit to a practice that I have not already determined to commit to myself. I don't always have this all together. There are moments when I feel overwhelmed by the noise of this world. There are moments that I feel the sense of the grief of loss, the sting of fear, the pain of my shadow self that's still attempting to wake up. I still at times see the ghost of shame that tries to creep back in and tries to drag me back down into lower frequencies. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes I experience the emotions and the power that they have. And sometimes I don't win that battle. But what I can tell you is that when the grief of loss occurs, because I practice love, joy, and peace, those moments are much more condensed and summated than they used to be. When I experience the sting of fear, those moments last a lot less time than they used to. The pain of the shadow self is becoming less because I am integrating the shadow into the light. I'm welcoming it. Carl Jung said, whatever we don't make conscious remains unconscious. Makes sense. I am working on making all of me conscious. And that work sometimes can feel daunting, especially to the emotions and to the physical body. That old ghost of shame, I am in the process of inviting that ghost to the table and integrating it as well. What I'm trying to say to you is this invitation to this commitment is not asking you to do something that I am not already working to do. Sometimes the news makes my chest tighten. Sometimes my thoughts feel louder than the Spirit's whisper in my soul. And if I'm totally real with you, and that's what I always want to be, peace isn't always the first thing I find. Sometimes I find other emotions. I find them easier. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's outbursts. But here's what I have discovered for me. And I believe this to be true, that the way out is in. The way out of any set of circumstances, the circumstances that grieve me, the circumstances that vex me with fear, anger, outburst, the way out and the way through is in. I can tell you that I've learned it when I chase peace out there, it slips through my fingers every single time. When I try to grasp it and grip it and make it have my definitions, it slips through. But when I turn within, when I rest in that deep place where love and joy already live, peace rises. Not because the world is quiet, but because I am. When I get quiet and I go within. Family, here's the thing. When we go within, we stop going without. We stop begging life to give us what only the Spirit can reveal inside of us. And it's there, it's in that inner sanctuary that wholeness begins to bloom. So I'm going to invite you into this affirmation right before we go into this commitment ceremony. And I'm going to ask you to consider putting this affirmation in the comments, certainly saying it aloud. The way out is in. When I go within, I stop going without. In the stillness of love and joy, peace rises in me. One more time. The way out is in. When I go within, I stop going without. In the stillness of love and joy, peace rises in me. My greatest desire of this last 3 weeks is not really to teach you anything, honestly, because you don't need anyone to teach you anything. The truth that makes us all free is already within us. My greatest desire with this series has been for us to commit to a choice of frequency. I'm choosing this pathway. I'm choosing the path of love, joy, and peace. And what will happen inevitably when we make that choice is that we will experience some kind of a challenge that helps us to exercise it and to be able to welcome that too. And to welcome our perfectly imperfect response or reaction to whatever comes. But today I'm asking us to be more formal with this commitment, and I'm inviting us into a commitment ceremony. Now, along with this commitment ceremony, there is a commitment card. And I know that you're joining virtually, so I wanted to make sure that you would have those cards available to you. And so there's going to be a photo of the commitment card in the comments. There's also going to be a PDF version or a link to a PDF version in our weekly connection. If you're not getting our weekly connection, be sure to get us your information. Send that to admin@firstunity.org or to Kerry, Kerri, at firstunity.org. And make sure that you get this commitment card if you want this commitment card. And I would ask you to fill it out. We're going to do the commitment affirmation. We're going to speak the invocation over this. But then take a download the picture from the comments and fill it out and mail it to us if you would. Or email it to us, either way. We will take that in and we'll turn that to our spiritual support team, have our spiritual support team add prayers and some Reiki to it, and then we will mail it back to you. We'll send it back to you by email. So please consider doing that today. Consider this. So here it is. I'm going to invite you now into a sacred space, taking a few moments here. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I felt like this was very important. And I'm going to ask us right now, if you will, to just allow yourself for a few moments to go within, be in the space, go within. And remember, when we go within, we stop going without. And I'm just going to ask you now to take a few moments and breathe in deeply and allow yourself to rest into this present moment. Be here now, be here in this present moment, be here in this space, living in this truth, living in this as our reality. And in this moment, I'm going to ask you, if you would, to maybe place one hand over your heart and the other over your belly. This is representing heart chakra and solar plexus, and this is representative of presence plus power. And I'm going to share this invocation. I want to invoke this energy in this time. And then we're going to have a closing affirmation as we begin to step into the commitment of this journey together, practicing the frequency of love, joy, and peace. Today I make a sacred commitment not to perform my worth, not to hustle for love, not to live in fear disguised as logic, but to live in frequency, to rest in love, to radiate joy, to embody peace. Today I make this sacred commitment not to perform my worth, not to hustle for love, not to live in fear disguised as logic, but to live in frequency, to rest in love, to radiate joy, and to embody peace. If you would breathe in and exhale. I'm going to invite you into this affirmation, and what I'll ask you to do is to repeat this after me, and we're going to go through each line slowly so that you can repeat this after me, but Consider repeating this after me if it lands with you, if you feel like this is the frequency you would want to carry. And this affirmation together is this: I commit to living in frequency. I will no longer chase love. I will abide in it. I will not wait for joy. I will move as joy. I will not strive for peace. I will rest in it. I release fear, numbness, and performance. I choose to let my energy speak before my words. I am a walking field of love, joy, and peace. I live in frequency and I let my life sing. Now I'll invite you to receive a deep breath in, and let it go. I am a walking field of love, joy, and peace. I live in frequency, and I let my life sing. Now I'll invite your friend to look up at me, open your eyes. Maybe your hands are still on your chest and on your belly. I want to say thank you if you've chosen to commit to this practice. Thank you, because what the world, I believe, needs now as much or as more than ever is to experience the field of love, joy, and peace. And we get to become that field. The moment that we rest into love, rest into joy, rest into peace that already is, we start to become coherent and calibrated to that loving awareness, that joyful awareness, that peaceful awareness. And as a result of that, we begin to shift the consciousness of the entire planet. Now, when we're invoking this, we're not doing so to battle against the systems of our world. This is not a battle. This is not about fighting. It's not about overcoming anyone or really overcoming anything. This is about letting go of anything in my life that isn't love, joy, and peace. Practicing this art. And as we do, we spiral up into enlightenment and liberation. So thank you for choosing this commitment. Now, once again, if you want that card and you're not able to download the picture that's in the comments, but you want access to that card, please let us know. All you have to do is email Kerry@firstunity.org, Kerri at firstunity.org, or admin, ADMIN, at firstunity.org, and we'll be glad to pass it along to you. Now, there's about to be a request for offerings and not a request, but an invitation to give and to invest. And I want to encourage you today, if you have not been giving to support this ministry, consider doing so. If this is a place that you believe and a ministry that you believe should continue on to be a blessing to others, consider putting your money where your mouth is in that regard. And in this commitment, give an extra offering toward living in frequency. Consider giving an offering toward living in frequency specifically. Choose today to support the place where you feel like you are fed and nurtured spiritually. And I want to say thank you for doing that. Now, there's more announcements to come. We are, of course, in the midst of our Spirit Expressing season. We are going to be looking, reading, studying The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. That's going to go powerfully along with our chakra series. It's going to be a 7-week book study. And so I encourage you to consider signing up for that. If you want to be a part of that, please send us an email. Let Kerri know. It's Kerri@firstunity.org, Kerri. We have virtual options. That means if you're watching from anywhere in the world, you have access to Wi-Fi, access to internet, you have access to these groups to be a part of them. And I believe it's important to do so. So consider joining in, because I believe it'll be a ministry to you. I believe you'll enjoy it. You'll make connections with people and create community. So consider doing so. All right, my friends, I'm going to get up out of here now because it's time for our offerings and the time for generosity practice. I want to say thank you once again for being here. I love you. Now go and make it a great week just because you can. Living in frequency. That's my commitment. Peace.
Where we all belong. One love rising. One heart, one song. We are together. Where we